Warning: the following content may contain spoilers. Super Kami Anime accepts no liability for any mental or physical butthurt that may result from viewing the aforementioned spoilers. If you are unsure how spoilers will affect you, please consult your nearest otaku.
Alright, so this is, I don't even know what I'm going to call it. The RWBY report, maybe? Alright, so the RWBY report. We'll go with that for now. Episode 1 of Volume 3 finally came. New season schedule. Sponsors get it at 10 a.m. Saturday. Everybody else gets it 10 a.m. Sunday. Maybe a little bit earlier if you're a member, like a half hour early. About 2 weeks ago, there was a new World of Remnant, which was talking about the Vital Festival and more specifically the tournament. It's narrated by Ozpin, which is an interesting change from using Jen Taylor, who's been their narrator for pretty much everything else. Although, to be fair, in the very first episode, they had Jen Taylor's narrator talking to Ozpin, so it's all some big conspiracy of what's actually going on. But yeah, episode 1 starts off pretty damn well. We start out with RWBY visiting her mom's grave again, filling her in on everything that's happened in the first 2 seasons. We get our first glimpse of RWBY and Yang's dad for like a second. He doesn't actually say anything, and he's far off in the distance, but we have, in fact, seen Mr. Zhao Long now, so that's good. One interesting thing, one nice little touch that they added in the first episode was that as it shows RWBY walking away to go to the first round of the tournament, the camera pans up to the sun, and a couple of birds fly by, and the birds form the way that Monty would write his signature. He had this really cool way of writing it. He made it look like birds flying into a sunset, and they did that in the episode, which was a nice little touch. So then we start the meat of the episode, which is the first fighting round of the Vital Festival tournament. Professor Port and Dr. Oblek announcing the show. They basically give the rules, they give the whole hasty exposition. So, it's got a standard set of rules. First round, teams of 4. Whoever wins elects 2 of their members to move on to the second round. Whoever wins that picks the best out of the 2. They keep going up and up and up the bracket until eventually you get to the champion. The fight's pretty damn good. One thing I noticed is that in the second or so episode of the first volume, RWBY said she never wanted to make friends because, Crescent Rose was enough and she drinks milk. But RWBY saves Yang from getting knocked out of the ring, and she's like, I got your back. And another guy on the other team's like, who's got yours? And Weiss comes in and kicks him, and RWBY's like, my BFF. And Weiss is like, no. And RWBY's like, yes! So, that's a bit of character development for RWBY that I noticed. This new team, Auburn, they're pretty cool. It's obvious that most of the work went into their leader, Reese, who for some reason reminds me of Tiny Tina on a hoverboard that also turns into pistols and hand glaives. So you really had to wonder, what did Monty have to take to come up with those weapons half the time? RWBY and her team ends up winning, however. Then they go, so they're going to go get some victory food. Emerald steals RWBY's wallet, makes it seem like RWBY dropped it. Then you find out that Emerald's team is in the tournament, and Neo in disguise. She's wearing this black punk goth outfit with a black wig, and apparently she has the ability to change her eyes to any color, because her eyes are, she knocks out one guy on the opposing team, her eyes are green, and then she gets all up in his face and blinks, and her eyes go back to being pink and white, and then she gives her maniacal little smile, her little psychopath smile, giggles, and then stomp, probably breaks the guy's nose. So RWBY and her team go off to eat. Emerald is talking to Mercury, and she's like, I hate them. How can they be so happy all the time? And then Mercury says, did you at least get what we wanted? And what they wanted was who they were going to be fighting in the second round, which was Yang and Weiss. And this is when a lot of people start to hate Emerald because she's like, we're dealing with the bimbo and the heiress. And I'm like, bimbo! Anyway, then we get the scene that everybody saw at RTX, which was the simple walk guy. He gives them all a thing of noodles, except for Blake, who gets a big bowl of fish, and she's just like, starry-eyed, like, senpai notice me, and Weiss is going to pay for it until her credit card is rejected. Because earlier, her dad had tried to call her on her scroll, and she didn't answer him. So you can kind of infer that her dad probably cut her off. Team Juniper then shows up, and Pyrrha offers to pay for their food. They all have lunch. Then, over the loudspeaker, Dr. Oblek is like, could Team Juniper please report to the arena like they were scheduled to do several minutes ago? And you can totally hear Caboose when he talks. And it's also funny hearing Ryan doing Professor Port when, for the last couple of months, he's been the Mad King in X-Ray and Vav. So, he goes from being the absolutely maniacal and evil Mad King to being the full of himself Professor Port. Then, just before Team Juniper leave, Nora's like, we've got a world-class athlete, basically a ninja, I bring the pain, and Jean. Our weapons are awesome, our training is great, Glinda barely yells at us anymore, and Jean! And then Ren asks Jean, are you going to take that? And Jean's like, she's not wrong. And unfortunately, it is kind of easy to tell the difference between Monty playing Ren and his brother Neith playing Ren, but it's neither here nor there. Edit that out. It's still he still sounds like Ren, and that's all that matters. Nora sounds a little different too. I don't know if they changed her voice actress or not, or if something just happened with her voice, but Nora sounded kind of off to me. And another little interesting tidbit we gain is that is when Nora starts going on this little ramble, she starts talking really fast, going, what's the worst that could happen? We lose, and then everybody hates us, and we go around for the rest of our school years as failures, and me and Ren don't have families to go back to, we don't have homes to go back to, so we'll be social outcasts forever. And then she just she turns black and white when she does this, and it's kind of funny. But apparently Ren and Nora are either orphans, or Ren and Nora lost their parents to the huntsman profession, or Ren and Nora kicked them out for wanting to be huntsmen. So then Team Juniper shows up in the arena, they fight someone, and you see Cinder and her teammates sitting up in the grandstands going, well, this is going to be boring. Why? We already know who's going to win. And then Cinder's like, oh, come on. Even though you know the end, it's still fun to watch. And then she pulls a popcorn kernel out of Mercury's box of popcorn and pops it with her feet. And that makes me think. That makes me think of a couple of things. Because the episode then ends with Team Jan PR about to fight Team Bronze, the classic Rooster Teeth style of creating a cliffhanger of an awesome fight, and then it stops right before the fight starts, and you're probably not going to get to see the fight anyway. But this whole setup makes me think of a couple of things. One, back in Season 2, Cinder is making a list, and after Mercury fights Pyrrha and figures out what her semblance is, or whole polarity thing, Cinder says, add her to the list. We still don't know what this mysterious list is. Students to kill, students to change to her side. We don't know. We also have the virus that she uploaded to the Central Communication Tower in Volume 2. The whole thing of the Black Queen. One of my theories is that somehow that virus is going to affect the arena, which looks like a Pokemon arena, by the way. It looks pretty cool. But the thing is basically a flying fortress, and the only way to get to it and from it is by flying vehicle. So I think she's either going to make it crash with millions of people inside and, create a war that way, or that thing's got to have some kind of outboard security weapons that she's going to take control of and start using it as like a flying battle drone to kill a bunch of people and incite a war that way. Because, you do have the entire Atlas military there, run by General Ironwood, who me and a lot of my friends think, we all think that he's somehow in on it, that he's somehow aligned with the bad guys and he's like trying to take over the world or something and, you know, like make himself the dominant military figure of the world. Because a lot of people seem opposed to this peace that's going on. And I think that this whole flying fortress is going to play a part in that. But we have an entire new season to look forward to. So, yeah, tune in on Saturdays if you're a sponsor, Sundays if you're anybody else who wants to watch it on Rooster Teeth, and if you watch it on YouTube a week later. So by the time episode 2 comes out, episode 1 will be put up on YouTube. But yeah, that's about all I got for episode 1 of volume 3.